G'day, Harry Houdini here, and we're back with the Panzer II, and this is part number 4. Well, we have moved in leaps and bounds. Now, I have finally got a colour on this tank that I like, a coat of, it's actually gunship grey, which to me had just enough of the blue in it to basically approximate Panzer grey. And with my MIG blue wash, that should come up a treat, and then a little bit of dry brushing on the top, and we're going to do that later on in this video. Now, you may notice something. It's only got one barrel. Yes, I managed to lose the MG34 to the Carpet Monster. Goodness knows how I did that. It was during a bit of a clean up inside, because I've made it, I can take the top off, and I was basically cleaning things up in there after I'd sprayed the whole thing. I sprayed it all assembled, and I hadn't glued, if you've seen previous videos, I haven't glued this on because there is a lovely interior in there that's yet to be painted. There's quite a magnificent little interior there, showing off the KWK 20mm and this tiny little MG34. Now, in my fumbliness, as you know, I'm a kind of a bit of a fumbly wobbly modeller, but that's how I am. I managed to break that off, but thank goodness I had already bought a little brass set of barrels, and if you've seen the previous videos, I decided not to use them because the Dragon parts were Gen 2 and really high quality, so I went with them, and that is a lovely barrel that's supplied in the kit. It's hollowed at the end, and all the details are there, and the little end muzzle, whatever it is, it's all hollow. You know, it's got holes in it and everything for the whatever it is, brake. It's gun brake, isn't it? I don't know. You tell me. Comment, please, because I haven't received a comment in weeks of my videos. So either you're just watching the first 5 seconds and going, oh God, not that Aussie again. He's an idiot, which is true. You could still watch though. Look, if you're watching my clips, sling me a line. If you don't like them, that's fine. At least I know someone's out there. If you do like them, let me know. If I'm not doing what you want, let me know. If I'm not making any sense, well, that's probably true. But let me know, okay? I really love some feedback. Either like, dislike, comment, or just put a little smiley face after you've seen it so that I know there's someone out there actually enjoying what I'm doing. Otherwise, it's sort of pointless, isn't it? I mean, I enjoy doing them, but it'd be really nice to know that people are watching them and they're at least interested. I mean, I don't know everything. I don't pretend to be an expert, you know. I'm not on here to be the great guru and show you what to do. I'm only showing you what I'm doing and what success and failures I'm having. And if that's of interest to you, please let me know. Okay, so I have to put my brass barrel, the MG34, I'll have to put that back in the little section. And lucky it broke off on the end, and I can simply drill a hole in there and add it on. Now, can you see the detail in those? Oh, there's my tweezers for comparison. They're tiny, but it's all drilled out, and this little part here goes inside that little sleeve there, and it makes up into an MG34. It's fantastic. So there you go. I don't know the brand. There's nothing on the packet for those, but I'll find out. I'll let you know. So I've removed that entire gun assembly completely off the base and out of the turret. That was sort of happened all for me when one of the flanges managed to break and fall out. But that seemed serendipitous because I thought, oh, it'll actually be easier for me to get into this little space here, and I've got to drill out a tiny hole, the exact same diameter as the supplied brass part. And I'm going to do that now. So we'll have one of my favourite little comical speeded up motion sections, and let's put a metal barrel in my Panzer II. you may be wondering why I have a raffle ticket thing sitting here on the modelling desk. Now, this is a great idea. I actually saw someone else doing this on another YouTube clip, so I cannot take the claim for it. But basically, whenever you're gluing, and especially when you're using that that super duper glue stuff, you know, this Mr. Zappo stuff or whatever it is, so that you don't have glue on bits of card that you lean your hands or whatever, I put the glue on that. I even use it with the plastic cement, and it is easier, I found, to put a dollop of glue on your bit of paper and then use a toothpick, or sometimes you can take your tiny part and dip the offending end that needs to glue to something in it and then put it onto your model. Or so you can use your toothpick very easily. You've got a source. I mean, some people use little stainless steel containers and all the rest, but I suppose they have to clean those up, and I don't like to clean up. So I can just fold those in half and bingo, gone. And I've got a nice new clean sheet to work on. And I find that that's a really good little method for not getting glue all over your cutting board, or getting it all over your fingers and sticking to your mustache, as happened one day if you've ever followed any of my previous FaceTime. What's it called? FaceTime? Facebook, as a fella. What's FaceTime? That's something else. Who knows? I'm an old fogey. It's all very confusing. Anyhow, there you go. We now have a very nice barrel on the end of our MG34. Alrighty, now we're back to painting the odds and sods, as some people call them, the greebles, on the Panzer II. I've started by adding some basic rust colours to the muffler, and I've just been using a bit of, well, what I had, which is flat rust, Taglieri, and I've been mixing that with a series of browns and greys that I have actually for Russian tanks, but shh, we won't tell anybody. This one's German, so you know, I've got some of those as well. And it really doesn't matter. And these are all acrylics, and I can sort of mix up any colour I like. And I use these little things, actually. These are really handy, I find, and they're quite disposable. Wouldn't believe it, these are actually from the salads I buy. So I go down to Woolies and, you know, get myself a nice little Greek salad or something, and the dressing comes in one of these little doodads, so I keep them. And they're great. They're really good for mixing up acrylic paints, or even putting in my thinners when I'm working with enamels. It's they're terrific. And if they get a bit gunky and what have you, they can simply get cleaned up and thrown into the recycling like a good responsible citizen that I am. Now, I've been busy here, and I have been painting all my tools. Now, what I do is I leave the tools off the tank, and in fact, I'll try and, you know, leave parts, sections, and pre-built up areas as apart as possible until the absolute last minute, just in case I need to paint a bit that I can't quite get to. Because as I've said before, I'm a bit wobbly, and I'm not that precise. But I tell you what, I've for the first time actually bothered to invest in some decent brushes. And I bought a set of these little fellas, and they're probably Chinese, and they're just acrylic brushes, or just, you know, they're not any kind of animal hair, but they all go very nicely to a point. And I tell you what, that does make a huge difference, I must say. I mean, I was always using tiny little brushes, thinking that's what, you know, I had to do, and to paint details, the smaller the better. A big brush, I'm going to make a big mess. But I watched someone's clip, and they were basically painting a figure, and they're doing a fabulous job, and they said, look, you don't need a tiny brush, it's a fallacy. A good brush that goes to a point, and they're absolutely right. So I've managed to get into all kinds of tiny crevices and edges and all kinds of things here, and I've used a big brush. So there you go. You probably already know that. It's only just the dumb Australians that think, you know, big brush, that won't work, it's too bloody big, mate. Well, no, a big brush can work. I mean, that's not a huge brush, that's a number 5. Number 5, but a gorgeous little point, and that's allowed me to get all this detail in. You'll see that. I'll do some photos. You'll see that at the end. So, what I like to do is I've undercoated everything in the same colour as the tank, which is basically that gunship grey, and that means that all the little clasps and attachments, they're all going to be the right colour to start with, so I don't have to do those again. Then I've only got to touch up and change the other parts. So I'm working on some wood here. I've started with some Russian brown, and once that's dry I'm going to dry brush a little bit of tan on it and even a tiny bit of white. And with the parts that are metallic, I've put basically just a very light grey on to start with. Then I'll go over and I'll use some of this. Now, this is a tricky thing, and it is not my makeup set. No, 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 no. These, although it does come with like a little applicator, and it does look so much like makeup, that's terrific for doing all kinds of things. And this one's especially for tanks, I believe. And I've got another rusty colour, which I can pop on the back. And it's a bit like using pigments, I suppose. I mean, pigments probably be better, but I got this first and I've had some success for it. So you can either use it dry with the applicator, I'll show you how I do that, or you can actually wet a brush and paint it on. Works both ways. I do my tracks with this, using all three of them. And boy, do they make tracks come up like magic. So there you go. So you can sort of do a bit of wet brushing and dry brushing using these, essentially the sort of pigments. But they're already sort of a bit wet. So there you go. I'll show you how I use those in a sec. But I'm going to use the gunmetal on the metal parts and even some of the silver where it's lighter. And that'll give me sort of metallic sheen to those things. And that may not be strictly accurate and historically correct, and I don't care. They look nice. I like my tools sort of popping out. And if you've seen any of my videos and seen sort of tools on my tanks, you know, I like them. I like them a bit shiny and a bit sort of metally, and that's what I do. And I've only got to please myself at the end of the day. So there you go. Alright, well, we might do a little, one of my comical speed up segments, and I'll just use my makeup set and we'll metal these up. And here we have the tank with its tools on. I don't know how much of that you can see. So the tools have all been basically, they're only dry fitted at the moment, and to do that I've had to increase the size of the holes that Dragon provides, but that's kind of typical. They don't usually fit. And there's extra holes, I don't know what they're for, that I'll probably end up filling, but for the moment we've got a whole ton of tools on there, and it's sort of working. So there you go. And I'm yet to work on my muffler at the back. That's dried for now, and I'll put some more effects on it. But, well, the little fella's fallen off. And this one, this was the one that I could not avoid adding the photo etch to. I really didn't want to add those tiny little photo etch clasps. They were so fiddly and so difficult, and they took me about 2 hours just to do that one tool. So I didn't want to do them all, and it's not going to cooperate, is it? That was okay, it was an experience, and I sort of wondered, I had the option in this kit, I could go the tools with photo etch clasp. They gave you the clean tools, or they gave you tools that had the little knobbly bits on, so that you just put them in the holes. Although with that one, there wasn't a knobbly one at all. So all I could do was basically go with the clean tool, and thought, okay, well I'll have a go at this. Making these tiny little photo etch clasps. I mean, the photo etch clasp is this tiniest little bit there. It is minute, and it has another little piece there, and that's comprised of 3 parts, and it took me forever to trim them and try and file them and fold them. I suppose, look, if you're good at photo etch, that's fine. I've got wobbly hands and dodgy eyes, and I'm falling to bits basically. I need trading in, so that's the best I could do. But anyhow, that's you saw me before putting the barrel, the brass barrel in. I use one of these called a pin vise. You probably already know that, but if you don't, there you go, there's useful information. It's like a little wee drill, but it's yeah, you get tiny little drill bits, and you buy those from the hobby store. They're really small, they're down to fractions of millimetres or inches or tenths or whatever, and they're handy for drilling portholes in battleships and just, you know, holes to put your barrels in, and generally they're handy for lots of things, especially when it comes to the tools. You might need the the holes to be exactly the same wide as those knobbly bits, and that's what I've used it for. So there you go. So that's where we are with this, and I might end the video there because it's sort of coming on to 15 minutes, and that's long enough to watch me any day of the week. You know, really, you don't need any more of the Australian idiot than that. So we'll leave the Panzer II there, and I'll come back next time. We'll finish the washing. We'll get the tracks washed and painted. They are going to look good, and it'll basically, hopefully, it'll all come together in the last chapter. It always comes together at the end, doesn't it? Yes, it does, possums. Sorry about that. I seem to have a croaky throat. I need to go and have a nice cup of tea. Boil the billy, as I've said. Talk to my koala bears and stroke my wombat. So there you go. That's it for now. It's hooroo from Harry Deany and goodbye from down under.